Welcome back. Chapter 43. Someone was watching her. She could feel it. Pip turned and found their eyes, a terrified gaze trapped in a plastic stare. With a mechanical groan, the red and white carousel slowly started to turn, and the unblinking horse spun away from her mid-gallop, replaced by another pair of frightened and frozen eyes. Then another. Pip watched the carousel until the carnival worker whistled to his colleague and the horses creaked to a halt. Someone shouted for her to move out of the way as another huge truck pulled up onto the grass, people circling it, waving their arms. The vehicle signed as it slowed to a stop, a fold-up tilt-and-wheel ride strapped onto his bed. Pip walked on, stepped around the wheel-churned tracks in the grass. Her mom would complain about the damage to the park tomorrow night when the carnival opened, just as she did every year. Pip! Kara's voice sailed over to her from just beyond the bumper cars. Pip followed, remembering only at the last second to put the limp back into her walk. They were all here, her friends, draped around the bench as they watched the chaos of the emerging winter carnival. It was tradition. I tried to text you, Kara said, running up to her and taking her arm. But then, I remember you don't have your phone. I do. Kara guided Pip over to the bench, shooing Connor away so Pip could sit. Then she shuffled around in her pocket and pulled out Pip's phone. You were right. You had somehow left it in Dad's car. It was wedged under the back seat. Pip took it. Oh, I don't know how that happened. Did you get your app in, Pip? Zach asked. Yeah, just in time, she sniffed. Sent it in 3 minutes before midnight. She had thought she wouldn't make it, barely had time to read over her essay before she pressed submit. And then, of course, spent hours rereading when it was too late to change anything. Then stared at the darkened corners of her room, creating faces out of the shadows, trying to bargain with sleep. Yay, you're free, Kara said, waving Pip's arm in celebration for her. She knew she should feel something, excited or relieved or nervous, but she felt empty, trapped behind a vacant stare, like one of those carousel horses. The bench was hard and cold against her back as she feigned a smile. This bench, her bench, Andy Bell taken too soon. And now Pip knew who by. They watched the drop tower ride being set up, its name Downtime, wrapped around it in Gaulish font. Then the pirate ship ride as Connor inserted as many pirate puns into the conversation as possible. Pip felt separated from them all somehow, like she was wrapped in an invisible barrier. Through it, she could hardly hear as Aunt complained that tickets for the Ferris wheel had gone up to $10, or as Lauren admonished, why am I struggling with that word? Admonished him, reminding him it was for charity. A couple of hours later, a truck pulled up with a new ride they'd never seen before. From a distance, it looked like a giant octopus, and her friend stood up to go and get a closer look. Pip didn't move. Go ahead, she said to them, pointing down at her ankle as an explanation. I'll stay, Kara said, taking Zach's place on the bench as the others wandered off across the park. How are you? She turned to Pip when they were alone. Fine, she lied. I'm fine, you? Yeah, okay. Naomi? A bit less than okay, Kara shrugged. Spends most of the day upstairs in her room. She didn't shut her door last night when I got in, and I saw she was writing in her diary again. I guess that's good. It's what the therapist tells her to do, you know? The one she's been seeing since Mom. Pip nodded. It was now. She had to ask now, or she might not get another chance. Hey, you know my mom's doing a showing of a house on Graveson Road in New Canaan today, she said. Isn't that where you used to live? Yeah, Kara said. How funny. Number 44? Oh, we were 42. Does your dad still go there? Pip asked, making her voice flat in disinterest. Nah, he sold it ages ago, Kara said. They kept it when we moved because Mom had gotten a huge inheritance from her grandma, and they rented it out for extra income while Mom did her painting. But Dad sold it a couple of years after Mom died, I think. Pip nodded. Clearly, Elliot Ward had been telling lies for a very long time. She looked at Kara then, really looked at her, and the invisible barriers around her closed in, constricting her throat as she tried to push down the tears. The sadness she felt for Kara was black and twisted and hungry. How was any of this fair? Pip leaned over, wrapped her arms around her friend, and pulled her in. What's this for? Kara muffled voice in her hair. Nothing. All right, Clingy, she said, trying to wriggle free. Pip didn't want to let her go, didn't think she could, but she had to. A distant squeal made her look up, draw back. It was Lauren. Aunt had just jumped out at her from the other side of the incoming waltzer ride. You know they got together last night, Kara said, nodding her head in their direction. Really? Yeah, and apparently they kissed at the calamity party too, Lauren told me last week. Oh, I had no idea, Pip said. Yet another thing she'd missed lately. Added to the list. Pip's phone was vibrating in her pocket as the others rejoined them at the bench. Messages from Ravi. Did you get your application in? She didn't open them, in case Kara saw anything she shouldn't. It was past 5 when her mom called to say she was waiting in the parking lot. Pip hugged her friends goodbye, her breath stuttering when Kara said, "See you tomorrow," because tomorrow might be a different world for them all. She limped away past the bumper cars and the swearing carnival worker who just cut open his hand, past the yellow car towing a hot dog stand in its trailer, and around the corner of a disassembled funhouse where she almost ran into someone. Oh, sorry, she said, looking up. It was Mr. Ward. The sun flashed across his glasses as he smiled down at her. Ah, Pip, he said brightly. Did you get it in? Yep. Her breath felt gummy, like it was trying to choke her. And your ankle? Not too bad. Should be better by tomorrow. Pip could barely hear her own voice over the sound of her heart in her ears. Surely he could hear it too. Sorry, I've got to go. My mom's waiting. Oh, sure, he said, stepping out of the way. Do you know where Kara is? She's not answering her phone, and I need to drop her home and get over to Target before dinner. Pip pointed behind her. Thanks, Mr. Ward said, nodding to her as he walked away. Pip limped away, checking over her shoulder, watching him. When he crossed behind the bumper cars and could no longer see her, she dropped the limp and started to run. She didn't stop until she reached the parking lot in her mom's car, fumbling for the passenger side handle. Hey, sweetie, her mom said, starting the engine. She didn't turn to look at Pip, but it didn't matter. Pip saw anyway. Her mom's red-rimmed eyes. She's been crying. Pip pretended she hadn't seen, and her mom pretended she hadn't either, talking instead about Josh's sleepover tonight. But Pip knew why she'd been crying. Barney, of course. And how much worse would it be when she find out why he really died? Back home, Pip said, just going to have a nap. I was up late. It was another lie. She went to her room to watch the time, pacing from bed to door and back, waiting. Fear burned her rage, and if she didn't pace, she would scream. Mr. Ward said he was going to Target, the one near New Cannon, and Pip bet she knew where he would be going afterward. She needed him to be there. When it was after 6 o'clock, Pip tugged the charger out of her phone and pulled on her coat. I'm going to Robbie's for a few hours, she called to her mom. Outside, she climbed into her car and tied up her dark hair on top of her head. She looked down at her phone at the lines and the lines of messages from Ravi. She replied, "I turned it in, thanks. I'll come to your house after dinner and we'll phone the police then." Yet another lie. But Pip was fluent in them now. He would only stop her if he knew. She opened the map app on her phone, typed in the address, and hit go. The mechanical voice chanted up at her, "Start en route to 42 Gravestone Road." That's the end of chapter 43. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I understand what she's doing, but her not telling people what she up to, I don't know how to feel about that, especially going into danger, because she think Mr. Ward is dangerous. But Ravi she got her phone back, and Ravi and her, they track where she is. So if he think about it and is smart, he would open an app and see where she is, right? And then another thing about her phone, did she ask Kara for the phone? It sounded like she did, right? Or did Kara find it? But how? Okay, so she's not tracking Mr. Ward anymore. She just got the address, and so she's going there herself. Okay, that's what it is. But I still want to know how Kara got the phone. Okay, let's proceed. Chapter 44. Gravesend Road was narrow and overgrown, a tunnel of trees pushing in on all sides. Pip pulled onto the curb just after number 40 and flicked off her headlights. Her heart was a stampede, and every hair, every layer of skin was alive and electric. She reached down for her phone, which was propped up in the cup holder, and dialed 911. "Hello, 911 operator, what's your emergency?" "My name is Pippa Fitz-Amobi," she said shakily, and I'm from Fairview. Please listen carefully. You need to send officers to 42 Gravesend Road in New Canaan. Inside is a man named Elliot Ward. 5 years ago, Elliot kidnapped a girl named Andy Bell from Fairview, and he's been keeping her in this house. He murdered a boy named Sal Singh. You need to contact Detective Richard Hawkins, who led the Andy Bell case, and let him know. I believe Andy is alive, and she's being kept inside. I'm going in now to confront Elliot Ward, and I might be in danger. Please send officers quickly. Okay, good. She called 911, so somebody know where she at. Hold on, Pippa, the voice said. Where are you phoning from now? I'm outside the house, and I'm about to go in. Okay, stay outside. I'm dispatching officers to your location. Pippa, can you? I'm going in now, Pip said. Please hurry. Pippa, do not go inside the house. I'm sorry, I have to, she said. Pip lowered the phone, the operator's voice still calling her name, and hung up. She got out of the car, following the street down to number 42, and saw Mr. Ward's car parked in front of the small red brick house. The two downstairs windows glowed, pushing away the thickening darkness. As she started towards the house, she triggered a motion sensor floodlight that filled the drive with a blinding white glare. She covered her eyes, a giant shadow stitched to her feet as she walked towards the front door. She knocked 3 times. Something clattered inside, and then nothing. She knocked again, hitting the door over and over with her fists. A light flicked on, and through the frosted glass, she saw a blurred figure walking towards her. A chain scraped from the sliding lock, and the door opened with a damp, clacking sound. Mr. Ward stared at her, dressed in the same pastel green shirt from earlier and a pair of oven mitts slung over his shoulder. "Pip?" he said in a voice barely breathy with fear. What are you doing here?" She looked him straight in the eyes. He said, I'm just. Pip shook her head. "The police will be here soon," she said. "You have until then to explain it to me." She stepped 1 foot up over the threshold. Explain it to me so I can tell Kara and Naomi, so the Singhs can finally know the truth about their son. All the blood left Mr. Ward's face. He staggered back, colliding with the wall. He pressed his fingers into his eyes and blew out all his air. It's over, he said quietly. It's finally over. Time's running out. Her voice was much braver than she felt. Okay, he said, okay. Do you want to come in? She hesitated, her stomach recoiling inside. But the police were on their way. She can do this. We'll leave the front door open, she said, then followed him in and down the hall, keeping a 3-step distance between them. He led her right and then into the kitchen. There was no furniture in it, none at all, but the counters were laden with food packets and cooking utensils, even a spice rack. There was a small key glinting on the counter beside a packet of dried pasta. Mr. Ward bent to turn off the stove, and Pip walked to the other side of the room, putting as much space between them as she could. Stand away from the knives, she said. Pip, I'm not going to. Move away from them. Mr. Ward stepped away, stopping by the wall opposite her. She's here, isn't she? Pip said, Andy's here, and she's alive. Yes. Ooh, she shivered inside her coat. You and Andy Bell were seeing each other in March of 2014, she said. Start at the beginning. It wasn't like he stuttered. He moaned and held his voice. Elliot, he sniffed. Okay, he said. It was late February. Andy started paying attention to me at school. I wasn't teaching her. She didn't take history with me, but she followed me in the halls and asked me about my day. And I don't know, I guess the attention felt nice. I've been so lonely since Isabel died. And then Andy started asking to have my phone number. Nothing had happened at this point, nothing at all, but she kept asking. I told her that would be inappropriate. And yet, soon enough, I found myself in the phone shop, buying another SIM card so I could talk to her without anyone finding out. I don't know why I did it. I suppose it felt like a distraction from missing Isabel. I just wanted someone to talk to. I only put the SIM in at night so Naomi would never see anything, and we started texting. She was nice to me. Let me talk about Isabel and how I worried about Naomi and Kara. You're running out of time, Pip said coldly. Yes, he straightened up. And then Andy started suggesting we meet somewhere outside of school, like a hotel. I told her absolutely not. But in a moment of madness, a moment of weakness, I found myself booking one. She could be very persuasive. We agreed on a time and date, but I had to cancel last minute because Kara had chickenpox. I tried to end things, whatever it was we had at this point, but then she asked again, and I booked somewhere for the next week. The Ivy House Inn in Westport, said Pip. He nodded. That's when it happened the first time. His voice was quiet with shame. We didn't stay the night. I couldn't leave the girls for a whole night. We stayed just a couple of hours. And you slept with her? He didn't say anything. She was 17, Pip said. The same age as your daughter. You were a teacher. Andy was vulnerable and you took advantage of that. You should have known better. There's nothing you can say that will make me more disgusted with myself than I already am. I said it couldn't happen again and tried to call it off. Andy wouldn't let me. She started threatening to turn me in. She interrupted me of my lessons, came over and whispered to me that she left a picture of herself naked, hidden in the classroom somewhere, and that I should find it before someone else did, trying to scare me. So I went back to Ivy House the next week because I didn't know what she'd do if I didn't. I thought she would tire of whatever this was soon enough. He stopped to rub the back of his neck. That was the last time. It only happened twice, and then it was spring break. The girls and I spent a week at Isabel's parents' house, and with time away from Fairview, I came to my senses. I messaged Andy and I said it was over and I didn't care if she turned me in. She replied, saying that when school started again, she was going to ruin me if I didn't do what she wanted. I didn't know what she wanted. And then, by complete chance, I had an opportunity to stop her. I found out about Andy cyberbullying that girl, and so I called her dad as I told you, and said that if her behavior didn't improve, I would have to report her and she'd be expelled. Of course, Andy knew what it really meant: mutually assured destruction. She could have me arrested and jailed for our relationship, but I could have her expelled and ruin her future. We were at a stalemate, and I thought it was over. So why did you kidnap her on Friday, April the 18th? Pip said. That's not, he said. It didn't happen like that at all. I was home alone and Andy turned up. I think around 10ish. She was irate, just so angry. She screamed at me, telling me I was sad and disgusting, that she only touched me because she needed me to get her a place at Yale, like I helped Sal. She didn't want him to leave without her, screaming that she had to get away from home, away from Fairview because it was killing her. I tried to calm her down, but she wouldn't, and she knew exactly how to hurt me. He blinked slowly. Andy ran to my study and started tearing those paintings Isabel made me when she was dying, my rainbow ones. She smashed up 2 of them, and I was shouting for her to stop, and then she went for my favorite one, and I just pushed her to get her to stop. I wasn't trying to hurt her, but she fell back and hit her head on my desk hard. And, he sniffed, she was on the floor and her head was bleeding. She was conscious but confused. I rushed off to get the first aid kit, and when I came back, Andy had gone and the front door was open. She hadn't driven to our house. There was no car in the driveway and no sound of one nearby. She walked out and vanished. Her phone was on the floor in the study. She must have dropped it in the scuffle. The next day, he continued, I heard from Naomi that Andy was missing. Andy was bleeding and left my house with a head injury, and now she was missing. And as the weekend passed, I started to panic. I thought I'd killed her. I thought she must have wandered out of my house and then, confused and hurt, got lost somewhere and died from her injuries. That she was lying in a ditch somewhere, and it would only be a matter of time until they found her. And when they did, there might be evidence of her body that would lead back to me, fibers, fingerprints. I knew the only thing I could do was give them a stronger suspect to protect myself, to protect my girls. If I was taken away from Andy's murder, I didn't think Naomi would survive it. And Kara was only 12 at the time. I was the only parent they had left. I don't care about your excuses, Pip said. So then you framed Sal Singh. How did you know about the hit and run? Did Naomi write about it in her diaries, the ones her therapist told her to keep? Yes. And you read them? Of course I read them, he cried. I had to know my little girl wasn't thinking of hurting herself. Then you made her and her friends take Sal's alibi away. And then, on the Tuesday, I called in sick to work and dropped the girls at school. I waited outside, and when I saw Sal alone in the parking lot, I went up to talk to him. He wasn't coping well with her disappearance, so I suggested that we go back to his house and have a chat about it. I planned to do it with a knife from the Singh's house, but then I found some sleeping pills in the bathroom, and I decided to take him to the woods. I thought it would be kinder. I didn't want his family to find him. We had coffee, and I gave him the first 3 pills, said they were for his headache. I convinced him that we should go out in the woods and look for Andy ourselves, that it would help his feeling of helplessness. He trusted me. He didn't wonder why I hadn't taken off my leather gloves. I took a plastic bag from their kitchen, and we walked out into the woods. I had a penknife, and when we were far enough in, I held it up to his neck, made him swallow more pills. Mr. Ward's voice broke. His eyes filled and a lone tear snaked down his cheek. I said I was helping him, that he wouldn't be a suspect if it looked like he'd been attacked too. He swallowed a few more, and then he started to struggle. I pinned him down and forced him to take more. When he started to get sleepy, I held him and I talked to him about Yale, about the amazing libraries, how beautiful the campus looked in spring, just so he would fall asleep. You weirdo. Thinking about something good. When he lost conscience, I put the bag around his head and held his hand as he died. Pip had no pity for this man before her. 11 years of memories dissolved, leaving a stranger standing in the room with her. Then you sent the confession text from Sal's phone to his dad? Mr. Ward nodded, staunching his eyes with the heels of his hand. And Andy's blood? It had dried under my desk, he said. I'd missed some when I first cleaned, so I placed some of it under his nails with tweezers. I put Andy's phone in his pocket and left him there. I didn't want to kill him. I was trying to save my girls. They already been through so much. He didn't deserve it, I know, but neither did my girls. It was an impossible choice. Pip looked up to force down her tears. There wasn't time to tell him just how wrong he was. And then, as more days passed, he cried, I realized what a huge mistake I made. If Andy had died somewhere from her head injuries, they would have found her by then. And then her car turns up and they find blood in the trunk. She must have been well enough to drive somewhere after leaving my house. I panicked and thought it was fatal when it wasn't, but it was too late. Sal was already dead and I made him a killer. They closed the case and everything calmed down. So how did we get from there to you imprisoning Andy in this house? He flinched at the anger behind her words. It was the end of July. I was driving home and I just saw her. Andy was walking on the side of the main road from Norwalk heading towards Fairview. I pulled over and it was obvious she got herself messed up in drugs, that she'd been sleeping rough. She was so skinny and disheveled. That's how it happened. I couldn't let her return home because if she did, everyone would know Sal had been murdered. Andy was high and disoriented, but I stopped and got her in the car. I explained to her why I couldn't let her go home, but that I would take care of her. I just put this place up for sale, so I brought her here and took it off the market. Where has she been all those months? What happened to her the night she went missing? Pip pressed, feeling the minutes escaping from her. She doesn't remember all the details. I think she was concussed. She says she just wanted to get away from everything. She went to a friend of hers who was involved in drugs, and he took her to stay with some people he knew. But she didn't feel safe there, so she ran away to come home. She doesn't like talking about it. Howie Bowers? Pip thought out loud. Where is she, Elliot? In the attic. Don't go. He looked over at the small key on the counter. We made it nice up there for her. I insulated it, put in plywood walls and proper flooring. She picked out the wallpaper. There aren't any windows, but we put in lots of lamps. I know you must think I'm a monster, Pip, but I've never touched her, not since the last time at Ivy House. It's not like that. And she's not like she was before. She's a different person. She's calm and grateful. She has food up there, but I come to cook for her 3 times during the week, once at the weekend, and to let her down to the shower. And then we just sit together in her loft watching TV for a while. She's never bored. She's locked up there, and that's the key. Pip pointed to it. He nodded. And then they heard the sound of wheels crunching on the road outside. When the police interrogate you, Pip said, hurrying now, do not tell them about the hit and run, about taking Sal's alibi away. He doesn't need one when you've confessed. And Kara does not deserve to lose Naomi as well, to be all alone. The sound of car doors slamming. Maybe I can understand why you did it, she said. But what you did is unforgivable. You took Sal's life to save your own. You destroyed his family. A shout of hello, police, came from the open front door. The Bells had grieved for 5 years. You threatened me and my family. You broke into my house. I'm sorry. Heavy footsteps down the hallway. You killed Barney. His face crumpled. Pip, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't. Police, the officer said, stepping into the kitchen, hands tense against his uniform. His partner walked in behind, her eyes darting from Mr. Ward to Pip and back. Her tightly scraped ponytail flipped back and forth. Right, what's going on here, she said. Pip looked over at Mr. Ward and their eyes met. He held out his wrist. You're here to arrest me for the abduction and false imprisonment of Andy Bell, he said, not taking his eyes off her. And the murder of Sal Singh, said Pip. The officers looked at each other for a long moment, and one of them nodded. The woman started towards Mr. Ward, and the man pressed something on the radio strap of his shoulder. He moved back out of the hallway to speak into it. With both their backs turned, Pip darted forward and snatched the key from the counter. She ran out into the hall and bounded up the stairs. Hey, the male officer shouted after her. There was a small white hatch in the ceiling at the top. A large padlock was fitted through the hatch, attached to a metal ring in the surrounding wooden frame. A small 2-step ladder was placed beneath it. Pip stepped up and slotted the key into the padlock, letting it chatter to the floor. The policeman was coming up the stairs after her. She twisted the catch and ducked to let the reinforced hatch swing down and open. Yellow light filled the hole above her, and sound, dramatic music, explosion, and people shouting in tiny panicked voices. Pip grabbed the loft ladder and pulled it down to the floor, just as the officer thundered up the last few steps. Wait, he shouted. Pip climbed up, her hands clammy on the metal rungs. She poked her head up through the hatch and looked around. The room was lit by several floor lamps, and the wall was decorated with a white and black floral design. On one side of the loft, there was a mini fridge with an electric kettle and a microwave on top, and shelves of food and books. There was a fluffy pink rug in the middle of the room, and behind it was a large flat-screen TV that was just being paused. And there she was, sitting cross-legged on a single bed piled high with colored cushions, wearing a pair of blue penguin pattern pajamas, the same that both Kara and Naomi had. She stared over at Pip, her eyes wide and wild. She looked a little older, a little heavier. Her hair was moosier than it had been before, and her skin much paler. She gaped at Pip, the TV remote in her hand and a pack of Butterfingers on her lap. Hi, Pip said. I'm Pip. Hi, she said. I'm Andy. But she wasn't. Holy shit! Oop! That's the end of chapter 44. Okay. Mr. Ward confessed to it all, just like that. Are y'all believing it? It's believable, but for him to confess just like that, and he crazy? Wait a minute, is he crazy? Because when she asked him about Barney, he seemed to not have known about Barney. And then at the end, the supposedly Andy said, it says that but it wasn't. So is it Andy or somebody else that Mr. Ward kidnapped? Or is Mr. Ward covering up for somebody and he's taking the blame for Naomi? And who is in the attic if it's not Andy? Okay. We have chapter 45, 46, 47, and 48 left to go. It's going to be a ride because I need to know who is in the attic and is Mr. Ward actually covering up for somebody. So with that being said, I'm going to see you in the next chapters. Bye for now.